Good evening. This seems to be a good vehicle to get out some comments and some thoughts. And since I've had so many discussions about this emergency management vehicle that we've now purchased, I just thought I would get together tonight and throw some comments to everybody. Anyway, as of early part of October, Dodge County now owns a new emergency management command vehicle. Not new as far as brand new vehicle, but it's new to Dodge County. We spent about $88,000 purchasing a command vehicle from the city of Green Bay. Now, I made this comment at the board meeting in October here. A couple of weeks ago we met, and I said only in government can you spend money and save money at the same time. You know, we went out, well, not we, but I mean, some of our employees went out and looked for a vehicle. They asked for permission to buy it, apparently. They were given permission to buy it, and they bought a vehicle. And I have some concerns about that. But before I talk about my concerns, I just want to give a shout out to Rob Belk. He represents the people up there in Mayville. I watched a video last night, and he had commented about his thoughts and concerns about this purchase, and he apologized for basically not following the rules. And I have to give him credit. You know, it's mighty fine of you. Nobody else has said I'm sorry, but Rob said it to the rest of the board, and I think he said it to the people too. So we'll talk about the rules in a little bit and why that's an issue for me. But what do I see is wrong here? I said, you know, there's three things. One, how this thing was purchased. Okay, we have a purchasing policy. We have a budget that we put together. We should follow the budget. We have policies. We have procedures. None of that, in my opinion, was followed. Talk about each of those things here in detail in a minute. What else is wrong? You know, what we have is here's needs versus wants. Okay, we have a vehicle. We've had a vehicle. It's been used. It appears to be inadequate in some people's opinions, but I mean, it has worked well and it has served the county well for the few times it's used annually. Okay. I know we've had requests over the last couple of years to replace it, but quite honestly, some of us on the board feel that it's not a priority compared to some of the other issues that we have to contend with. I get it; it's an older trailer and truck combination, but what they did do is they went out and bought a 2007, you know, a 16-year-old vehicle from the city of Green Bay. It has 11,000 miles on the vehicle. It's not well used. It's in good shape, I would admit that. It's parked down at the courthouse building here in Juneau. So if you want to have a look at it, just go look and you can see. If you're really interested, I can get you a link and you can see pictures of it online. Lastly, it's, you know, and this is kind of how it was purchased after the fact, we had to clean up the paperwork. Okay, this thing was bought and paid for. Check was sent. The vehicle was picked up, and then we have a board meeting, and apparently we're supposed to approve everything that took place. We being the rest of the board, right? So how do we get here? Okay, so for the last couple of years, they've budgeted, or not budgeted. We have a capital improvement plan where we list all of these major items that we want to buy. This capital improvement plan is approved by the board. And then with that capital improvement plan, the county administration should put a budget together. Not everything on that CIP or the capital improvement plan will be funded, but it's the starting point. associated with that, we have a board rule that says basically that anything over $50,000 that's going to be purchased needs to be on that capital improvement plan. Well, I can tell you that we approved the capital improvement plan in September of this year, the board did, and this vehicle was not on the list, okay? And it wasn't on the list because the administrator felt that there wasn't room in the budget to put it on the list, so it was kept off. It was put on a list for future purchases. Now, I mentioned, need versus want. There's people that want this thing. They want the new vehicle. They want to spend $1 million. Actually, a couple of years ago, it was going to be $800,000. The most recent time they put it on there is $1.3 million. So there's some on the board that walk around and they say, well, we saved the county over $1 million. Well, quite honestly, we got an $88,000 vehicle sitting over in the parking lot, and it's going to take probably $250,000 to $300,000 just to get that thing equipped and on the road so it can be used. So we didn't save $1 million. We spent $88,000, and we're going to have to put more money into this vehicle. So what happened is, we get to the county board meeting. We have a rule that says anything over $50,000 needs to go through the committee of jurisdiction, and then that resolution has to come to the full board, and the full board's supposed to act upon it. Well, quite honestly, it's all cleanup because the entire transaction took place long before it ever came to the county board. There was no yes or no. It's just, hey, we got to do this paperwork, so let's go. Now, frustration for me is the fact that somebody asked at the board meeting whether we were breaking the rule. And they specifically said, Section D, did we break the rule? And Corporation Counsel, chimed in and said, no, we didn't. Well, if we didn't break the rule, why do we even have to meet? Why do we even have to put it at the county board? Because the rule says basically it has to come to the county board. So, but prior to being on the county board, it has to meet a couple other conditions. Well, if we don't need to meet those other conditions, or we did meet the conditions, which I claim we didn't, why are we cleaning up after the fact? To me, it's just nonsense. I'll summate in a minute. So I'm told that emergency management paid for this thing, or the budget for emergency management paid for the vehicle. So I poured into the budget a little bit, but no wages were used in paying for the vehicle. So I can tell you that in 23, the current budget cycle, we have $477,000 allocated to emergency management this year. And that was in the approved budget from November of last year. Of that amount, $252,782, I calculated, were wages and benefits. That leaves $224,000 basically in their budget. But apparently, we have $88,000 available to buy a vehicle. Because somehow or another, out of $224,000, we didn't need to spend all of that stuff. It was budgeted, but we really didn't need to spend that because we're going to use their budget to buy this vehicle. Well, let me tell you, $88,000 into that $224,000 is like 38%. So as I've made comments to others, they say, I don't understand how you have such a small department and they have $88,000 available to buy a vehicle. Not budgeted. It wasn't planned. But they got free money sitting around doing nothing. Well, if we've got 38% of our budget, non-labor, sitting around doing nothing, we got to fix our budgeting process. So there's some problems. So what do I think we need to do? Number one, As board members, we got to follow the rules, period. As a board, we need to follow the rules. If you don't like the rule, change the rule. We're going to have a 3-month period here coming up, January, February, and March, where you can make recommendations. You don't like one of the rules? Fine. Make a suggestion. The whole board can come together. The exec committee changes the rules. We adopt them prior to the session. So a whole new set of rules will be adopted and voted on in March. If you don't like it, change it. And the bigger one to me is, if the employees don't like the policies or procedures, make a recommendation to me as a county board member, or make a recommendation to a different county board member. Well, let's change the policies. But we gotta stop ignoring the policies and the procedures that are in place. It's not productive. You get people like me, I just want to see the rules followed. And when the rules aren't followed, it's a very frustrating experience. And then, of course, we lash out at board meetings, and somehow that's misinterpreted as we don't like the employees or we don't like people. No, we have these rules. Put it together.
Supervisor Guckenberger, we just had a comment come in from Matt SB. He is telling us that he is a county employee, I'm assuming at the Sheriff's Department. His comment is, I was using that trailer while working on the Iron Ridge picnic almost 20 years ago. This wouldn't have happened if the county board would stop kicking the can down the road and address equipment issues when they come up.
Yeah, well, I'd love to put all of the equipment on a list and prioritize the purchases, okay? But we have a limited amount of budget. You know, perhaps we don't replace 10 patrol vehicles every year. Maybe we replace 8 of them and take that savings, that $100,000, and apply it to the payments on a replacement vehicle. But you see, we don't have those discussions at the budget time, all right? And any attempts to save any kind of money, and I have a track record of making amendments to the budget in an attempt to save money and reallocate that. That's what needs to happen, okay? We need to put these priorities together, and this kind of process is not the answer. Ignoring the rules and the policies that are in place is not the answer. So that's my comments for the day. Thanks.